Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're retaking a deep dive into something you see every day but might not think much about: American architecture. It's a story that's way more exciting than just bricks and mortar. It's a tale of ambition, innovation, and the constant search for a uniquely American identity. So, grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's go on a journey through time, exploring how America built itself, one style at a time. Our story begins before the United States was even a country, with the architecture of the first European settlers. In the 17th century, folks arriving from England brought what they knew. This led to what we call colonial architecture. Think of those classic houses in New England, simple, practical, and sturdy. They often had a central chimney to heat the whole house, steep roofs to shed heavy snow, and small windows with diamond-shaped panes because large sheets of glass were a luxury. These homes, like the Paul Revere House in Boston, were built to survive, reflecting the harsh realities of early colonial life. They were direct descendants of medieval English cottages, but adapted for the New World. As we move into the 18th century, the colonies grew wealthier and more established. This change was reflected in their buildings. The Georgian style, named after the British kings, became all the rage among the affluent. This was America's first taste of high style. Georgian architecture is all about order, symmetry, and proportion. Imagine a perfectly balanced facade. The front door is dead center, with an equal number of windows on either side, often 5 across the second story. They had decorative elements like pediments over the door and classical columns. Independence Hall in Philadelphia is a prime example. This style shouted prosperity and a connection to British elegance, a way for the colonial elite to show they were just as sophisticated as their counterparts across the ocean. But then, a revolution happened. After the American Revolution, the new nation wanted to break free from British influence in every way, including architecture. Leaders like Thomas Jefferson looked to the ancient world for inspiration. Why? Because they saw parallels between the new American Republic and the democracies of ancient Greece and Rome. This led to the federal and neoclassical styles. Jefferson himself was a talented amateur architect, and his own home, Monticello, is a masterpiece of this era. He used classical elements like columns, domes, and arches. The White House and the U.S. Capitol are the most famous examples of this style. They were designed to project an image of a stable, democratic, and enduring nation. The mood shifted from classical order to something more emotional and romantic. The Victorian era wasn't just one style, but a whole collection of them, including Gothic Revival, Italianate, and Queen Anne. Gothic Revival brought back pointed arches, stained glass, and spooky cool details, inspired by medieval cathedrals. Think of old churches or university buildings that look like they're straight out of a fantasy novel. Then you have the Italianate style, with its low-pitched roofs, wide eaves with decorative brackets, and tall, narrow windows. But the one everyone thinks of as Victorian is the Queen Anne style. These are the gingerbread houses, asymmetrical with wraparound porches, turrets, bay windows, and tons of decorative trim in a riot of different textures and colors. This style was made possible by the Industrial Revolution, which mass-produced complex wooden parts, allowing for an explosion of ornamentation. It was a celebration of individuality and prosperity. By the turn of the 20th century, some architects felt things had gotten a little too fussy. A reaction against Victorian excess was brewing, especially in the American Midwest. This gave birth to the Prairie School, and its most famous champion was the legendary Lloyd Wright. Wright believed a house should be in harmony with its landscape. He emphasized strong horizontal lines, mimicking the flat prairie terrain. Prairie schoolhouses feature low-pitched hipped roofs with broad overhanging eaves, open interior spaces, and rows of windows that connect the inside with the outside. The Roby House in Chicago is the quintessential example. This was a truly American style, born from the American landscape, a radical departure from European traditions. At the same time, another revolution was happening in architecture. As cities grew taller, a new building type emerged, the skyscraper. Early skyscrapers in cities like Chicago and New York, designed by architects like Sullivan, were still decorated with classical or Art Deco elements. But in Europe, a new philosophy called modernism was taking hold, which would soon cross the Atlantic. Modernists believed that form should follow function. They stripped away all ornamentation, embracing clean lines, geometric shapes, and new materials like steel, glass, and concrete. Architects like Mies van der Rohe, who famously said less is more, brought this international style to America. The Seagram building in New York is a perfect example, a sleek bronze and glass box that became the prototype for corporate headquarters worldwide. This minimalist, functionalist approach dominated the mid-20th century. We see it in the classic suburban ranch houses of the 1950s and 60s, long, low-slung, and practical for growing families. This was the architecture of the American dream, sprawling out into the suburbs, enabled by the automobile. But, like all dominant styles, modernism eventually faced a backlash. This led to postmodernism. Postmodern architects started playing with history again, but in a witty, often ironic way. They brought back color, ornamentation, and classical forms, but used them in unexpected and sometimes humorous ways. Philip Johnson's AT&T building in New York, with its broken pediment top that looks like a giant piece of furniture, is a landmark of postmodernism. It was a declaration that architecture could be fun and referential again. So where are we today? American architecture in the 21st century is a mix of everything. We have neo-modernism, which continues the clean minimalist tradition but with new technology and a focus on sustainability. We have deconstructivism, which creates buildings that look like they're falling apart, challenging our ideas of structure and order, like Frank Gehry's Walt Disney Concert Hall. And there's a huge emphasis on green architecture, designing buildings that are energy efficient and environmentally responsible. From the simple wooden saltbox houses of the colonies to the mind-bending skyscrapers of today, the history of American architecture is a mirror reflecting the nation's journey. It's a story of breaking from tradition, inventing new ones, and constantly redefining what it means to be American. They're not just shelters, they're storytellers, each with a fascinating tale to tell about who we were, who we are, and who we aspire to be. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through architectural history, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the world around us. Let me know in the comments which architectural style is your favorite. See you next time.